Falcon fans, and of course, Falcon fans. You already know what it is. You already know what to do. One Time for the Fan is here talking Falcons football back again. Apple Podcast, Amazon Podcast, Spotify Podcast. Big shout out to Bodie. Big shout out to Miss Carrie.
Carrie, hey now.
Hey, how are you?
What are you doing?
Carrie,
I wanted to see if you peeped my hat. We're still trying to get sponsored by Tito's over here.
Oh,
okay.
At One Time for the Fan.
Hey, Team Tito's is in the building. I'm not sipping tonight because we have a special guest. But I guess Friday morning I might have a little quick sip. You never know. But Carrie, welcome here back again with One Time for the Fan. T-Will, welcome back again with One Time for the Fan. Falcon fans, we have a special guest here tonight. So you want to hit that like, you want to hit that share, you want to hit that subscribe button for our special guest. And of course, everybody here at One Time for the Fan. T-Will, former ATL Sportsman, how's everything been going with you, sir?
Hey man, one day at a time. We had a pop-up show with Smitty and A1 from Day One, Chris and Mark. And believe it or not, Brice came on and joined us. And yeah, man, it was great. You know, we were talking Hawks and everything that happened. It was a fun time. So we are in for a treat tonight. I've seen Brice up close and personal, and he's the real deal, man. True pro. Knows his stuff, and looking forward to talking some Falcons football with him. So
that's great. That is great, man. You guys doing these pop-up shows. I'm about to go ahead and get back in this pop-up podcast game just for a minute, man. We love our Sunday night, Wednesday night shows, and then our Friday morning shows. But when you do a pop-up podcast, you know, it really goes to the next level of talking to the fans after, you know, your scheduled show. So I love doing those pop-up shows too as well. Terry, you're doing a great job with my ATO Sports over there, linking up with a lot of the content creators to shed light to the Hawks, Braves too as well, and of course the Atlanta Falcons. Miss Carrie, disappointing loss for Team USA, Miss Carrie.
Oh man, no, that was very disappointing.
Hey, it's just how the game is played sometimes. But they had a loss, you know, against Panama too as well that I think some fans remember a couple of days ago. But Carrie, how you been since the last time you've been on One Time for the Fan?
Yeah, I'm happy to be back. Everything's been going pretty good. Just been busy and sad about the United States men's national team loss, but it is what it is. We'll see what changes they make before the World Cup, 2026 World Cup. We gotta make some changes between maybe the coach and players' mentality, and it just was not a good look the other day. So that was disappointing for sure. And then besides that, I'm just happy to be here, talk Falcons football, and have our special guest Brice on the show. And tomorrow's the 4th of July, so that's awesome too.
Yes, Falcon fans, this is your pre-4th of July podcast. And of course, for you all that's cooking out tomorrow, we're going to be hanging with your family and friends. Big shout out to everybody who gets a chance just to tune in tonight here at One Time for the Fan. We do have our Friday morning show still as well, Breakfast with One Time for the Fan, 9 a.m. on Friday. But in the past, we brought so many special guests here. T-Will, Carey, you guys know we've had Myles Garrett, we've had, like I said, John Fricke and John Michaels and so many people. And then we love doing our Falcon fan talk segments. Where we not only get a chance to speak to the fans, but we get a chance to speak to content creators or journalists and even producers. So big shout out to our guy, Brice2K, who's going to be joining us here tonight on One Time for the Fan. Brice is in the building. What's up, Brice?
What's up, guys? What's up? How everybody doing today? Excuse me. How's everybody doing today? Glad to be here, man. Y'all been doing some good work. Nice to formally meet Jack. Obviously, T-Will, we talked earlier, and Carrie as well. Nice to meet you guys for the first time, I guess, talking through, video or whatever. So glad to be here for show, man. Excited.
That's what's up. That's what's up. You did get a chance to talk with Terry earlier. You guys were talking Hawks.
Yeah, definitely talking some Hawks. Was a little inspired this morning. Saw them went live with, Chris and all them. So I was like, let me pop up. Let me see if I can get on. Let me see if I can, make an appearance. And they let me come on to the platform and chat it up about some Hawks, man. As that's a lot been going on with that, with the Atlanta Hawks this offseason. So always good to kind of get into that conversation, as it's a very conversational time.
Right now with the Hawks, there's definitely a lot going on. We might even shed some light on what's happening with them right now in the off season, because I think there's a lot of people upset. There's a lot of Falcon fans in the chat and that watch the show and listen to the show that are Hawks fans too. And we do talk Falcons 100% of the time, but we take 2 or 3 minutes to talk about the Hawks too every now and then. But Brice, for those who do not know in the chat, who is Brice Lewis?
Let's see. Who am I? I'm just an up and coming sports guy who's trying to get into the industry full time. Currently am a news producer in Greenville, South Carolina right now at WYFF News 4. That was just my way into the industry of media because I graduated from college 3 months for COVID. So obviously when that happened, everything kind of shut down. So, had to readjust and stuff. I started getting into more podcasting around that time. And then I had like an internship for like a year doing a podcast thing. And then I left that and wanted to do my own thing. So that's when I started doing Hawks content and Falcons content as well over the last couple of years while I got my first job actually as a news producer in Lexington, Kentucky. So that was where I was for 2 years, part of Big Blue Nation. Interesting group of people out there. But it was good. It was a good experience for me. I was able to get some on-air action as well and kind of learn some more things and gain it while also doing my own thing and just kind of grinding through that just because, I love the Falcons, love the Hawks. So obviously if I can give my opinion, if I can give whatever my perspective and into the content creation community, that was something I wanted to do. So, now, like I said, we're still working towards, trying, like I said, get into the industry full time, hoping for it, making connections, want to connect with content creators like you guys, obviously, because we're building up a community, especially because our media is different than a lot of other teams. Because like I said, sometimes for guys like people like us, we sometimes don't get the same opportunities if you're like, let's say you're a Cowboy fan, because they get every national media market in the world. And so then people don't care about us. Where here in Atlanta, we even though it's considered a small market sports wise, it's a big city still. So being able to, be a voice in the community and talk about everything that's going on with our teams, because I feel like, everybody has a different perspective. It's good conversation and it works out for everybody. So, that's just a little insight to who I am, my goals a little bit, and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to build over with me. And then also, like I said, trying to help whenever I can with anybody also who's trying to make it in the industry, content creation, anything like that.
Man, you cannot beat that. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Your social medias too as well before we get started, so everybody can follow you on your platform.
Yes,
Brice.
sir. Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K. It's across my social media across all platforms as well. If you want to listen to Hawks content, Believe in Hawks is the podcast, BLEAV, Believe in Hawks. And then I also do Atlanta Falcons content as well on my YouTube channel. So when you get there, you can also see that as well.
Oh man, Falcon fans, we're going to try to keep this within an hour, maybe a little bit after. I know how it is when we get special guests there on the show. We definitely don't want to take up too much of your time here tonight, Brice, but recent guests have gone 2 hours. Scott Krissick, 3.5 hours. Our draft show too as well went pretty well. Hey, when we talk Falcons now, we can go over the offensive line, the defensive line, the coaches. That might be 30, 45 minutes into the podcast. Then we got to talk about Jesse Bates alone. That might be an hour for the podcast. That might be an hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? It's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 11:30. We're still on the podcast talking Falcons football. But tonight, we'll try our best to get up out of here. Let's say what, Terry? Before 9:30, Terry? Can we do at least before 9:30?
Hey, man, let me tell you something. I'm off tonight. So.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Are you sipping too, Terry? You already got the food ready for tomorrow? Did you already prep the grill? Oh, he got the damn cup, the Dixie cup. Oh man, it's going down.
Whatever.
So is me.
You want to do 3 hours tonight? It's good. I know this one. I know.
So, Carrie, I know you know Deshaun always loves to stomp us when it comes to lyrics. I think he hit us with one Kendrick Lamar bar in all these podcasts. We're waiting for some more, Deshaun. But Terry, what is this? It's time to fight back. That's what Huey said. 2 shots in the dark. Now Huey's dead.
That's Tupac.
That's Tupac.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Of course, Siri, you wouldn't get that. That's not your type of music, Siri. Come on.
100%.
Siri likes classical. She doesn't listen to too much hip hop. For those in the chat that know the answer, go ahead and put it in the chat too as well. But it sounds like Siri wants war. She says she knows the answer to the song too. Okay,
Show violence today. I don't know what's up with Siri.
Siri
I don't know.
doing a podcast here. Siri, come on.
I don't know. Hey, what's up?
Carrie, do you agree with T. Will? 2 shots in the dark. Now Huey's dead.
Yeah,
You believe
it's
it?
for sure Tupac. I'm really
Yeah.
trying to. I know the song, and I'm trying to think of the name. Do you know the name, T. Will?
Which
Which
not hit
song?
'em up.
I like hear it playing in my head, but I'm like, what song is it?
Yeah, 2 shots in the dark.
That's changes. That's changes.
Is it
No,
changes?
is it? That's just the way it is. Things will never be this. Is that a song?
It could
I
be.
feel like it's a
He's dead,
different
2
beat.
shots in the
2
dark.
shots
Now
in the
he-
dark. Now Huey
Yeah.
did. He says
That
it
was
like
it.
that. I don't know.
Bryce, you a
Are
big
you
Tupac
sure?
fan?
Oh, maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm a fan. Now, obviously, in music in general, I am not the biggest junkie.
Mhm.
I'll be honest. I mean, I listen to stuff, but like in terms of names of songs, I'm the worst
Mhm.
at that for a lot of them. I may remember a song, I can hear it and I know it, but I can't tell you the name of it.
So Deshaun's thing is when he comes here to the chat, he just tries to hit us with lyrics from
Mhm.
different artists to see if we know it. Now we do get stumped from time to time, but T. Will, I know you know your Tupac, so I'm gonna agree with you on this one.
Yeah, it's changes. It is changes. Very good, Carrie. Where I think you said it.
I think that was
Jack.
Jack.
It's changes. You're correct. It is changes.
Let's get it. Falcon fans in the chat, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Now with the comments too as well. You know how it is when we have special guests. We'll try to get to all the comments as best as we can. But when we're talking Falcons football, sometimes we go a little bit overboard here. So Falcon fans in the chat, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Bryce, you're streaming right now too as well? You're streaming right now on your channel?
I am not, but I can.
If you guys want to head over to Bryce's channel too as well, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. The road to 1,000 subscribers. Style wow. We are almost there, Falcon fans. So hit that
Style
like,
wow.
share, and subscribe button. T. Will,
Yes, sir.
something that we talked about the other day on the podcast, the offensive linemen, or pretty much the offensive line rankings in the NFL.
Yes, sir.
And we mentioned it, how good the Falcons will be this season, protecting Kirk Cousins. But when you have a group like PFF sharing that the Falcons have a top 10 offensive line group in the NFL. Let's just go over the list here quickly, as we have the Detroit Lions at number 1, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to I'm sorry. Set this up on the side so you guys can see the comments too as well. Bam. All right, we're good. The 2024 NFL offensive line rankings. T. Will, if you can start us off with the Falcons sitting at number 6 on the list. Behind the New York Jets, behind the Cleveland Browns, the Colts, the Eagles, and the Lions. Terry, we talked about this offensive line for quite some time here on One Time for the Fan. Just give your thoughts on the top 10 offensive line group going in to protect your Mr. 4,000-yard Kirk Cousins.
Well, as we see with the defensive line and the offensive line, PFF giveth and PFF taketh away. In this case, I think they're right. I think the Falcons are top 6. They'll get no argument from me. I think the whole thing hinges on McGarry being able to hold up at that tackle position. From a pass perspective, McGarry is a mauler when it comes to running the ball. But you may have to help him out. You may have to chip. You may have to stick a tight end over there. But all in all, I think number 6 in the league is fair. This line has been together for years now, at least 3. I'd say 3 years, maybe. Well, Bergeron's new, but other than that, this line has been together. They have continuity. So I would agree this is a top 6 offensive line, and they can only get better to the extent that they stay healthy. Carrie, what say you?
I would have to agree with you. I feel like that's definitely one of our strong groups as far as our team and our roster. I would agree that McGarry is my worry, but what I am excited about, to be a little more positive, is I'm excited about year 2 for Bergeron because he was such a nice surprise for me. I didn't really know him, and then I'm pretty sure we moved up in the draft for him, didn't we? Or no? I thought we did.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. And I'm like, who's this guy? I didn't know anything about him, but I mean, he was solid, and he didn't get much love last season, and I feel that's probably a good thing, when you're not hearing from the rookie anything bad about the rookie, and I think it's because he was just solid. He was very good, so I'm excited for year 2 for him.
Plus, you also get these players that's played together for quite some time now. I mean, Dahlman, Lindstrom. I mean, they plugged Bergeron in last year when they drafted him, but he's fit in well. Of course, Jake Matthews has been there for quite some time too, as well. Brice, PFF, well, Zoltan Bude from PFF, one of the writers here, lists the Falcons at number 6 for the offensive line rankings. You agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think for the most part, offensive line has been solid. I mean, there have been games at times where they could struggle, and it happens to any offensive line depending on the matchup and who you're facing. But I think overall, I mean, they're pretty solid across the entire O line. Bergeron, I think, will take another step this season, continue to grow. Matthews has been consistent. You know, Drew Gallman, outside of maybe some snap issues, I mean, as a blocking center, he's fine. Like, he has really done a good job. I know there were some questions back when he was battling with Hennessy, but I think he's established himself as the guy. And then, you know, obviously, I know Lindstrom, we know what he can do. He was rated the best guard in PPF. We know he's paid like the top guard in the game. So there's no concerns there. Caleb McGarry, obviously, always your concern. 2 years ago, he played well. A year ago, he was up and down. So he's like, you never know what you're going to get. Obviously, with this new energy, new staff. Obviously, I know offensive line coach, I think, was retained. But, you know, from that perspective, I think, you know, he should be fine. And obviously, we'll have to see how the scheme impacts the offensive line as well. This is a new scheme to bring it in. So that may be beneficial for him as well, and why the Falcons offensive line is so highly rated in PFF size.
Brice, a fan mentioned to me the other day that the Falcons offensive line has been blocking for Mariota and Ritter, pretty much a mobile scramble type of quarterback the past couple of years. How are they going to be able to adjust to a guy like Kirk Cousins, especially coming off of that injury? Are you worried about any type of offensive line problems when it comes to blocking for Kirk Cousins, knowing that they just had Ritter and then Mariota 2 years before that?
It's going to be a bit of an adjustment for sure. I think, you know, you're used to a quarterback where if something does break down, he could be a little bit more mobile, get out of things. That's why everybody wants the mobile quarterback, because they can create. But obviously, a mobile quarterback also can have downsides. They could run themselves into sacks. They could get a little jittery in the pocket, and that creates things. Kirk Cousins pretty much he'll be in the pocket. He's able to move a little bit in the pocket, just like, step here to get, see a lane, maybe get some space to create more time. But overall, I think that, I think it may be beneficial for guys like McGarry, knowing that all I got to do is not let him get to this spot. And if I can do that, I've done my job. So I think this obviously, like I said, will be a different challenge for the offensive line, but also at the same time, this also can help establish, this is one of the top offensive lines in the game if they're able to protect the pocket passer and keep them from being on the ground a lot. So I think this is something, again, with what they're doing offensively as well. I don't see this being a lot of long developing plays, except obviously when you want to go like maybe big play. So this may be beneficial for the offensive line and Kirk Cousins in terms of what they're planning to do and why, they expect to be able to be, like I said, a top offensive line in the game, even with a pocket quarterback.
Kerry, you got your offensive line group coming back again. A lot of teams in the NFL right now are still trying to get their offensive line together. When the Falcons, they know who their starters will be. How do you feel about that as a fan, knowing that you don't have to worry about your offensive line to protect your $100 million quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's big. You want to protect your, quarterback, most important position on the field, and obviously he's just coming off of an injury, so definitely want to make sure he's protected. And I have faith that they will do that. Like Brice said, it might be a little bit of an adjustment, but most of those guys, protected Matt Ryan, so not that he's more of a pocket passer too. So I think it'll be just fine. I'm not really worried about that position group, to be honest, much at all.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If you're looking at the offensive line, Jake Matthews, like I said, has been with the team for a while. Chris Lindstrom, that's been rated the number 1 guard in the NFL for the past couple of years here. And then you have Drew Dahlman, who some would say that might be close to the weakest player on the offensive line, I would say, if you wouldn't, Caleb McGarry. Terry, if you look at the offensive line, what problem would you say you have up front? Would it be McGarry for you? Would it be Dahlman? Because everybody else seems to be set. Bergeron, he fit in well with the team since they drafted him. Chris Lindstrom, as you see, he's ranked number 1 in the NFL at guard position. And then Jake Matthews, who's also solid as well. Terry, your thoughts on Drew Dahlman and Caleb McGarry?
I think Dahlman's fine. Every now and then he'll just, uncork one or overcook it and send it 30 yards back. But, if he can get past that, Dahlman's okay. Dahlman's okay. Now, again, McGarry, to Bryce's point, can be kind of up and down. But I think this is going to be a good year for him because I think he's got something to prove. Because McGarry knows, right? You know your strengths and weaknesses. If you've been in the NFL, I'm sure you know your strengths and weaknesses. So I would imagine that this is probably going to be an area of focus throughout the entire camp coming into the year. And I'm going to be positive and say we're going to work it out, whether that's chip with running backs come out of the backfield, whether that's sticking a tight end over there. We'll figure it out. But I think McGarry is going to carry his weight. I think so. I'm not as worried about him as I am some other folks, but I think he's okay.
I've seen a lot of posts from Falcon fans over the. Go ahead, Carrie.
Sorry, I was going to ask a question. McGarry, is he on a 2-year deal? Because the only thing I was going to say is, looking ahead to the future, once Michael Penix takes over in possibly 2 to 3 years. What do you think about that situation?
I think if you're going into next year's draft, you definitely have to look at Jake Matthews' situation and look to having that tackle probably be one of your highest picks if you want to go with it. I mean, if Terry's still there, he's hit on Bergeron, right?
Right.
That was a good pickup. So when Terry drafted him, so if you can go get a left tackle next year in the draft, I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons do that because Matthews is coming to the end of his career soon. But then again, you have.
I know. Did you see that post that the Falcons did today showing like his rookie year's picture versus this year? Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's been 14 years?
It has. And for the Falcon fans that know, I mean, every player, it happens like that when you hit your run. I mean, he's over 30. He's been paid well. He's reached this height of reaching to the Super. Come on, Atlanta. I'm watching the Atlanta United game right now, and they're pissing me off because New England just scored. And they have no. Come on, Atlanta United, man. I can't see this team lose tonight. But for the offensive line, you have to be proud of what you have, right? Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, Drew Dahman, Caleb McGarry, and Matthew Bergeron. I feel comfortable that these are the guys that are going to be protecting Kirk Cousins. And then when Michael Penix does step in, let's just say 2 years from now, you're still going to have Chris Lindstrom, right? You're still going to have Matthew Bergeron. Drew Dahman is still young, too, as well. I mean, Zoltan writes here on the report that Drew Dahman's breakout 2023 season significantly helped this unit, especially in the run blocking, as Dahman finished with the third highest run blocking grade amongst centers. Chris Lindstrom was also, once again, the highest graded guard in the NFL. But I see posts from Falcon fans all the time bashing Drew Dahman and going hard at Caleb McGarry. Also, all 5 starting Falcons offensive linemen returned for the 2024 season, and the unit can further improve if second-year guard Matthew Bergeron takes a step forward. I thought he took a step forward big last year.
I think he took a huge step forward.
I agree.
But
he was great, honestly.
To Carrie's point, McGarry's contract is over 2026. I think the Falcons will draft his replacement next year. Because to your point, if Penix does take over, Caleb McGarry is your blindside blocker. So
if you're going off of next year's draft, let's just say if you're looking at the offensive lineman, is Jake Matthews' job more important to go after in draft, or is it more so Caleb McGarry?
Depends on. Now, see, that's a loaded question, right?
Because they're both tackles. So you're going to load up on tackle, and you can get a guy that can play either side, but you got to get a Penei Sewell out there. You got to get somebody who can give you Jake Matthews type of value.
But do you put that guy – can you get 2 more years out of Jake? Because, here's the thing. Hey, if Kirk's here all 4 years, great. You get no complaint from me. If we win a Super Bowl, great. But to the extent that Penix takes over, you got to have a plan at that backup tackle. You got to have a plan at that backup tackle. So, if it's me, honestly, if I'm Terry F. Baby, as we call him, deserve
our guy.
There we go. All right, we do.
Your first one tonight. No penalty yards yet for you, Terry. You're doing good tonight. You caught a penalty last week in the first 10 minutes of the show.
I was about to say.
Terry's here tonight, and we're talking about Michael Penix. I'm sure a penalty will happen here in the match.
I haven't even said it.
So, Brice, we do wows and we do penalties. And here lately, I've been getting a lot of penalties. I don't know why, but whatever.
Me too, but it's always if I say Big Penix energy. I'll start it off.
Unnecessary use of innuendo on Carrie. Carrie, you're starting at the 5-yard line. All right.
I know.
Right.
Holding on, Carrie. 10-yard penalty for using
Oh, we're not
BPE
getting
once again. It's BPE, Brice. I say BPE, but Carrie can clearly say what it is. Carrie, what is it now?
Ha!
Big Penix energy. I still haven't ordered a shirt yet, but I don't know. I'm kind of shy. I know I promised the world
Another
I was
10-yard
gonna get a
penalty,
shirt
half
and
of
rock
this is to
it,
the
but
goal. First down. Repeat first down.
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, Carrie, you're on like the 3 now. Or the 7. Something.
That's
Brice,
tough.
what do you think we do at guard 2025 draft? Your thoughts?
Tackle.
You mean tackle?
Tackle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
I think that's obviously something you have to look into. The future. I think you reassess that with Jake, see where he's at. Maybe he's like, I can give you one more year. Then it's like, okay, we got to draft a guy. Now, obviously, we won't know what the biggest need going into next year is until we have the year play through. So obviously that could change. Obviously, if they have their way, they'll be in the 20s. So you also have to take that into account. Or 30s. But I think you definitely have to draft.
Picking last.
I wouldn't be surprised they even sign a guy. I mean, maybe they draft for the left. Since Michael Penix is your quarterback of the future, you potentially draft future right tackle or a guy who can play both. And maybe you sign a left tackle whenever Jake Matthews decides to retire. You have multiple avenues you can go with this. Maybe you want to have maybe one veteran established player and one young player. It just kind of depends on what they want to do. I mean, obviously you can invest draft picks, second, third round draft picks into it as well. So, but I think that's like the next big thing for them to look into is like, okay, well, eventually Matthews is the oldest offensive lineman we have. He's the only one close to retirement on the line. Unless someone retires surprisingly. So I think that's probably where you would maybe want to go, especially with Michael Penix coming in. You probably want to go rookie there, let him develop out there and kind of just go from there realistically, because you just want to make sure that your offensive line, this regime shows me already they want to stay on top of things. They don't want everything to just be at the last minute if possible or within the plan that they're establishing. So I definitely think draft capital will be invested, and it'll be interesting. Definitely got to keep an eye on top linemen this year in college football.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. The Birdcage LLC's in the chat, man. Definitely hit that like button ASAP. Big shout out to Birdcage LLC. We got to get Birdcage on the show too as well. I know he's doing some great things over there on his channel too. What's up, T. Will?
Can we spotlight Bobby Blasingame?
Bobby Blasingame?
Yeah, Bobby D.
He's in the chat.
Bobby
we need
D.
Scott Case and Kyle. Was it? We need Scott Case and Fulton Kai Kendall back to get that. Kai Kendall?
Bobby, you my heart, man. My heart goes out to you. Okay. For you young bucks, okay, who don't know anything about Falcons history, Mr. Scott Case would lay the wood. You hear me? Hit you so hard your teeth rattle. All right. That dude was about that life. And yeah. And Mr. Fulton Kuykendall, hey man, those are two great Falcon defenders. And I just wanted to shout him out because it does my heart good, man. I love the Fulton Kuykendall, I think, passed either this year or last year sometime. So God rest his soul. But let me tell you something. Mr. Scott Case, one of the greatest safeties, in my humble opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame. Probably not going to ever be there. But in the 70s and 80s, roamed the Falcons backfield and knocked out a lot of teeth. Okay. Football was different back in those days. You could close hang. You could do just about anything, okay? And Scott would lay the wood. And, back in my day, we kind of looked forward to those big hits, right? So if Stuart Scott were here, he would say, booyah, every time Scott lays somebody out. So I just wanted to shout him out for that. I appreciate it, Jack. We can get back to our regularly scheduled program.
This is what it's all about, man. We got Falcon fans in the chat, too. Well, I definitely appreciate that.
That's my heart.
Tell me about that comment so I can go ahead and get to the because comments are just rolling in here, man. Crimson Huntsman is in the chat too as well. Look whose O-line is ranked dead last.
Please be the Saints. Please be the Saints. Please be the Saints. I'm sorry. Please be the Saints.
It's the Saints.
Yes,
Is it?
yes.
It's the Saints.
Thanks, Donkey Hooters. Go ahead and hit me with the penalty, Jack. Go ahead. They're going.
Terry, you know what? I'm trying to. You know what? Never mind.
They're Donkey Hooters. That's what they
15-yard penalty on T. Will for using Donkey Hooters again in the chat.
suck. Yep.
Talked
And
about that on the
How much
stream last time.
Birdo?
Yeah, you racked up almost 65 yards in penalty yards
You're right.
just for
You're
using
right.
Donkey Hooters.
The day is young. The day is young.
We
It's
do
a-
not want to get banned for saying that here on One Time for the Fan. 95 North Talk Shows in the chat. So you have to consider replacing Caleb before Matthews. I don't trust McGarry. I don't trust McGarry protecting Penix's blindside when he's ready to start.
That was my thought.
Agree or disagree?
I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Falcon fans, this is what it's about when we're talking Falcons football. Let's stick with the offense here. Miss Carey, offensive coordinators
Yeah.
who you need to watch for in 2024. And it's funny how, we're always, talking Falcons football here, and we always look for content all over from PFF, and they might put out different articles. And of course, Ian Rappaport, sometimes they might speak about the Falcons every now and then, but PFF has been talking a lot about the Atlanta Falcons the past couple weeks. And now they're talking about the 8 coordinators who can make headlines during the 2024 NFL season. And to start the list, we got our boy, Zach Robinson.
Zach Robinson. That was going to be my answer, and I know that's biased, but yeah. It's his
Why is he a coordinator to watch for? He's going
from-
into his first year, Carrie. Why is he one to watch for?
He's a coordinator to watch for because he comes from that Sean McVay tree. I mean, they have a great, successful offense over there that they run. And not just that, but I think not just Falcons fans, but the whole NFL world, everybody's excited to finally see some of these weapons that we have on offense being used, properly. All due respect. Like for example, Bijan, getting him more touches, and Drake London, and I don't know, hopefully having his first 1,000-yard season, and Kyle Pitts back to his rookie year numbers. I think that's another aspect of it that they're just really excited. Besides his background, they're excited to see, what he can do with all these weapons as well.
Brice, offensive coordinators to watch for. Zach Robinson is on the list. Well, not even offensive coordinators. They're just saying coordinators to watch for. But Zach Robinson is on the list here. Why do you think he's one to watch for in the NFL? He's going to his first year. He hasn't even called a play yet. But why is he one to watch for? I
just think what Kerry alluded to, coming from the Sean McVay tree. He was pivotal in what they were doing in LA, helping with the pass game, helping develop guys. I mean, you can see in the article they mentioned his development with Puka Nacua, who broke onto the scene and now is considered one of the best receivers in the game, slot receivers at least in the game.
That was amazing.
I mean, that tells you that they believe in his development. They believe he has a bright mind. Obviously, Raheem was very high on him when he got hired here to say, I want him. It is a guy who people really expect to take another big step for his career as a coordinator and really show, like we have so many young creative minds in the game nowadays. They expect him to be the next guy in that list. So I think that's why people are really ecstatic about him, and they're so high on him because they do believe that, especially with the weapons they have here in Atlanta, that he'll be able to figure out the right scheme, the right formula to make everybody, play to their highest potential. Getting Kyle Pitts the ball, having Drake London get a 1,000-yard season, Bijan getting the ball to him creatively. What we thought we wanted to see when Arthur Smith was calling plays, people very much believe that Zach Robinson will be able to do that in Atlanta. Because again, you're coming from a place in LA. He's bringing a lot of the concepts they ran in LA to Atlanta. So you're going to see a Rams-esque type offense. And we know if you guys have ever watched the Rams, what kind of offense they run, why it is so effective. So I think that's one of the big reasons why Zach Robinson is very highly touted, and why, we would hate this, but if this works out and he is what we expect, he'll be up for head coaching jobs in a year or two. So, and we'll have to see. Obviously, he was big in the Penix selection, so would he stay for Penix's first year? We'll see. But obviously, he's a guy that I think a lot of people are excited about, and thinks that he'll enter the ranks of those up and coming offensive coordinators in the game.
Brice, also with Zach Robinson working with Matthew Stafford out in LA, it does question why we went to go get Kirk Cousins. Do you think he wanted a veteran quarterback to help him in his first year? Because some fans would definitely say, "Hey man, go ahead and start the rookie." But a veteran quarterback like Kirk Cousins, who's similar to Matthew Stafford in some ways, a
Mhm.
pocket passing quarterback that knows how to get through his reads and adjustments correctly and get the ball down the field and move the chains. We've seen his stats. We've seen his player rating too as well after every game. And Kirk Cousins, he's a quarterback's quarterback. But do you think that's why they wanted Kirk Cousins for Zach Robinson, just to make his job a little bit easier?
I mean, that could be part of it, but I also just think too, I mean, I've always said it would be hard to say with the Falcons' expectations, hey, rookie quarterback, take us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I've always said like that's a lot. That's why when people make that argument, I'm like, that's a lot you're asking of Michael Penix. Because, like, you know, we got to make sure he's ready. You got to make sure he's put in the right position. You don't want to, you know, mess up his development. You know, you want to sometimes allow patience in that situation. So I think Kurt is a guy can come in if he's healthy. You know, last time we seen Kurt, he had 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in Minnesota before he got hurt. So he was playing at a high level. You know that he can, you know, get the ball to his weapons. I mean, Justin Jefferson.
Year before that, 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Exactly. And, you know, he didn't have the weapons he had in Minnesota become what they become because he wasn't a good quarterback. He's always been able to get the ball to his weapons. And I think they think with what they are trying to do, they think that it'll work out with that chemistry. Plus, he's a veteran guy. And Kurt's talked about in interviews, the system that they're running now is something that he's familiar with. So, again, that curve is there. You're not having to worry about Penix having to learn the entire playbook, or you have to keep a certain percentage out just because, you know, you don't want to put too much on the rookie. Kurt can pretty much probably go full go with this playbook. So now he can do all the things that he wants to do with the weapons, and that can help unlock this offense. As like I said, they're trying to be a postseason team this year and make a playoff run. So I think that's one of the big reasons why I think that Kirk Cousins was signed. It's just because now you know you can go ahead and compete. You know you can do what you want to do offensively and scheme-wise. And then after that, whenever that time comes for Penix, by that point, he'll be up to speed mentally, and now he just has to put it on show on the field.
I just love who the Falcons have on their staff when it comes to developing players. I mean, you guys still have Raheem Morris as the head coach. You have Zach Robinson, what he's done with Puka too as well. Will, could Zach Robinson help develop still Drake London and Casey Washington the way he did Puka in LA?
Of course, you're never too old to learn. And Drake has a good attitude, from what I'm told. Kyle has a good attitude, so he could develop every receiver, every tight end on the team. Look, if you want it, it's there. You just have to go and get it. So I'm excited about Zach Robinson. I think the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that he has an assortment of weapons at his disposal. And the mileage on them is little to none because they really haven't been utilized. So he's probably salivating right now, thinking of all the ways he can get Kyle the ball, he can get Bijan the ball, he can get Drake the ball, Rondell Moore, Darryl Mooney, the list goes on and on. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think what he has that most other people don't have is he has a coach that has been through the ringer, that's experienced failure, that's also experienced success, and is the most positive motivational speaker this side of Les Brown.
Also, somebody who understands him too. He's worked with Raheem Morris for the past few years now. This isn't some guy he gets called out the blue. I mean, he knows Raheem like, you know, like I know you. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
hold on, Terry. I don't know you that well. I don't know about the Donkey Hooter situation. I don't know where that came from, but still, I know you. But yeah.
You do know me, Jack, and I know you. And look, I mean, if I'm working out, there are 3 guys I want in my ear, right?
Yeah.
There's Sylvester Stallone, Ayo, Apollo. That's not us anymore. That's not us. I want Al Pacino, right? Now I can't make you.
Which Al Pacino do you want though?
Not Scarface. He was kind of an a-hole. But
come on.
Either
any given Sunday, Al Pacino?
Give me Any Given Sunday, right?
Okay.
Or Carlito's Way, but specifically, you know, Any Given Sunday. Now I can't make you do it, but if you look at the guy next to you, I think you're gonna see a guy that's gonna go the distance with you, him or Raheem Morris. Okay, because look, if I'm on a treadmill and Raheem's going in my ear, you know what? I'm gonna do another mile. I'm lying, maybe half a mile, but I will do it. Right? I will.
That's
do
tough. You can't even finish. No, mind.
Man, I'm 255 pounds. We have
Just
to.
reminded me
You
that
ran
I'm running
the
a
hell out
5K
that
in
route
the
at the
morning.
cookout the other day, Terry. I don't want to hear about no weight.
I did, and you know
You
what?
ran a post corner fed at the cookout the other day. You almost ran into the damn woods. But
Step
the
away,
tiptoe catch was something like Julio from the Super Bowl that game. I keep telling
bro.
people about it.
I was a step away from carrying my fat ass into those woods, and the only reason I didn't do it was because my daughter was there, and I
No.
didn't want the embarrassment of her going back telling my wife, "You know what your husband did today." So it was the grace of God, but no. But in all seriousness, I think Raheem is going to push Zach to be the best. And I'm really, really excited to see what we can come up with. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this Falcons team. I think they're going to have a great offense, great defense, great special teams. I'm not saying they win the Super Bowl, but they're going to surprise some people this year. Those are my thoughts. Brice, I did have a couple of questions for you.
Mm.
If I may, Jack, can we get into that? Are we at that? I
Hey,
love
man, for my ATL Sports, one time for the fan, Brice 2K, man, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your day for come talk Falcons football with us. Kerry, thank you so much as well, too. I know, Wednesday nights in the off season, people got stuff to do. But to come over here and talk Falcons football for just an hour or a couple minutes, like fans love this. So I definitely appreciate
I'm
everybody.
happy to be
for
here.
doing this.
Thank
Sir.
I appreciate it, Kerry. I appreciate it. When the season starts, it's about to get crazy here. So, it's going to be a lot more content during the week. I'm trying to catch up to Mark. Mark's dropping shows every time I look up. Mark's on another podcast. Man, Mark is great, man. He is
Mark
great. We have
doing this thing. Mark is great.
Mark is.
Yeah.
killing
He's
it.
super cool, man. So for Falcon fans that do watch a lot of content creators, there's so many people out here that's doing great in the Falcons community. So make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe button for everybody. T-Will, you got some questions here from Mr. Brice. Let's go ahead and get to it, my brother.
I did, Bryce. So I was checking out your podcast and everything, man. And I gotta say, I really like your style. I got to see it up close and personal earlier today, and I thought you were great. So I came up with a few questions, if you don't mind. The first one, it's kind of a softball, but I'm gonna toss it to you never the same. Do you think that the rivalry between the Hawks and the Pelicans is anything near the Falcons and Saints?
No, not at all. It's actually funny. When I was talking on my pod I did with the guys from New Orleans. I was talking about how I've been actually trying to reach out to guys from New Orleans for a while, and nobody got back to me. And I was like, I made a joke. I was like, I mean, maybe it's because I'm Atlanta and that's New Orleans, and so they're like, ooh, I don't know if I want to talk to an Atlanta guy.
As soon as they see that 404 number, they're like,
they don't know if I want to bring on a pod and everything. And they were like, I mean, it's very much possible, but he also was like, we also were like, I mean, the basketball, since it was basketball related, it's like there's no rivalry there. Like, Pelicans and Hawks don't hate each other. Like, there's nothing there. I guess it's more of a city thing more than the team thing in that regard. Now, I did also make the joke of, I mean, hey man, I mean, if we want to make it a rivalry and just make it a DeJounte versus Trey thing in the finals, if that ever happened, that could be something.
It's not happening in New Orleans. I got more faith in my Hawks than that. But
that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Whoa!
Bow and arrow. You see that right there?
Wow.
Elden ring for you. You see that?
Wow! That's a wow.
Snuck that diss in right there. But yeah, Brice, you got it.
Really did. You did.
But no, I don't see it as a rivalry in basketball at all.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Kerry, you know much about the Hawks and the Pelicans to know about the rivalry? I know the Falcons Saints rivalry is pretty big, but Hawks Pelicans?
No. I was curious about that same thing when T-Will brought that up. I was, I'm just a basketball casual, so I don't know that much. Like, I do soccer and football, but I was curious about the same thing because obviously, to me, the Falcons-Aints rivalry is like one of the biggest and baddest ones in the league. So I didn't know if it was the same thing with.
It's crypto.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was the same.
So the new Hawks, not the old Hawks, the new Hawks here with Trae Young, I would say Falcons Saints rivalry would be close to Hawks Knicks because they really hate Trae Young up there.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Right, like it's bad. It's bad.
His name randomly.
Hawks Celtics maybe, Brice. Hawks maybe Celtics.
No.
I mean, there's some heat there when they play, but I mean, it's not crazy because the Hawks haven't won a playoff series against the Celtics in a while.
Right.
But I mean,
God,
when they play, there's
all
usually
hate Boston
a little
teams.
bit of heat. I mean, I think that's just that natural hate of Boston teams. But
Exactly.
I think it's
Yes, Berto. We hate Boston teams, Berto. I'm sorry.
Oh, here
Go ahead.
goes
Yeah.
here he goes dropping the Boston the get this
Yeah.
nonsense out of here. We're reporting Berto for
Not at
spam
all.
tonight in the comments section. We don't want no Celtics fans up in the chat.
No, we don't.
We're getting ready to talk some Hawks.
Yeah.
Boston is DH, and you know what I mean. There, I made it into an acronym.
Oh gosh, he comes in here with the get the hate out your heart. All
Ah,
you gotta do is say Bo at the end. Just say Bo at the end. Get the hate out your heart, Bo. He's
Oh
get,
man, I'm
big
disappointed
love
in you, my
country
friends.
big shout out to
where's
him too
Big
as well.
Country when we need him?
The
right,
Hawks
right.
Knicks hate is pretty big going forward now. With Trae Young going back to New York every now and then to dust the Knicks off every so often. But then you have I think Hawks Bucks too as well.
They beat us though. Like in order for there to be a rivalry, there would have
Mhm.
to be an equivalent amount of ass whooping, right?
Mhm.
Because if every time I come play you, you beat me, it's not a right. You're sunning me, as my
Mhm.
son would say. You're sunning me. You're little brothering me. You're like, go get in the corner. You're irritating me. That's not a rivalry. You know what I mean? A rivalry is I come to your house, kick your teeth in. You come to my house, you beat me, and we really don't like each other. And it
Years ago, I'd say Hawks Cavs or Hawks Celtics. Now I got to say Hawks Knicks. I just I mean the Knicks fans when they come to the State Farm, there's a bunch of Knicks fans that live here in Atlanta. Boston Celtics fans too as well. You see them in the crowd too as well. Golden State's a different story. That's just people who just love Steph Curry. So you see that in State Farm Arena all the time too as well. But when the Knicks crowd is there, it's like a nasty hate for Trae.
Yeah,
Anybody who walks around with Trae, anybody who's near Trae, anybody who tags Trae on social media, they're going at. But that's what my thoughts on that.
I mean, we also have to talk about the battles within the cities too, because I mean, we have had instances where our teams will play a big city team, and then the journalists in that city be coming at Atlanta. I mean, obviously, one thing that sticks out, I always remember the Braves run when we played the Dodgers, and LA was just crapping on Atlanta, all their Hicks, Waffle House eating, and it was just like, if you're invested into that, which I was invested into that run, it's almost just like, who are you guys,
Right.
And y'all got all this payroll, y'all can't even beat us. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was like that. And obviously with the Knicks in Atlanta, it's just a natural, again, people just looking at Atlanta like, oh, who are you guys? And then we come in there, they were talking hella smack. They were like, yeah, we should win this in 4 or 5 games. They were basically like, just whatever. And then we beat them in 5 games, and we beat them in their house. And we know the videos that came from that. This was like, I think, as the pandemic started opening up, so people were ready to start getting active, and so that just kind of added on to it, and everything like that. Obviously, we know with the Falcons as well. I mean, the Saints, we know we butt heads with them all the time. It always feels like every time they invade each other's space, if we go into New Orleans or they come to Atlanta, I always feel like maybe a fight might break out for all we know. So that's it. Kind of sometimes it's really the city too. In some of these rivalries, like I feel like for like Hawks and Boston, I think the cities themselves are still a bit of this, but like even though the team wise, the competition, it may not be as big of a rivalry.
Plus, you got social media that plays into it too as well. You have fans from both sides yelling at each other, atting each other, chirping at each other 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. But question for you too as well, Brice. It seems like the Falcons, they can get some players to come play for their team because their team is looking real. The roster looking on point right now. But the Hawks seems to have problems of getting people to come play for them. Like the Mercedes-Benz Stadium going to be packed this year, but State Farm is looking like, who is the starting 5? Who is the rookie that they just drafted? Hawks fans they don't know what's going on. Free agency is going on right. The free agency is going on right now. Hawks ain't making no moves. Like, help us out, Brice.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're taking a route where I've always talked about the development route. I said development isn't cute. It's not sexy. I mean, it depends if you're a junkie. It may not be exciting to you. But that's the route they're taking, especially with the new CBA in place and that restricting teams, and teams are trying to get into payroll and making it very hard to even have 3-star players on your team just because of how restrictive it can be for you. So I think, there is some guys you could be excited about. I mean, obviously Trae, as far as we know, Trae will be back. Jalen Johnson's a guy who's up and coming. A lot of people are excited about him coming into this year. I think a lot of people are excited about some of the young guys like Kobe Buffkin, Muhammad Gay. things of that nature, and just trying to continue to grow. And then we'll see what Riche turns out to be as well, the Frenchman. You know, I don't know the last time we had a Frenchman on the roster that of significance. So we're trying to get a little foreign out here. But I think that once some more time goes by and we kind of get a full gauge on what everything's looking like. We have Summer League next week. Hawks playing Summer League next Friday. So that'll be a first look at some of the young guys, and if they have a good showing, that can help provide excitement. And then we'll see about opening night. We'll see what the schedule looks like and who we're playing opening night as well. But I think that I think the Hawks obviously have to go through that grind of a period, and I think if they prove to be good and they prove to put out a good product, then I think obviously fans will come to State Farm and they'll start packing it out. I mean, so I think it's one of those that may be more of a wait and see approach, maybe, and see how things go, unless they make another major move this offseason that we are unaware of. So I think that's going to be kind of the big thing, I think, right now. And like I said, when you're going through this development route where you're relying on a lot of young guys, these are guys that, especially in small market teams, the reason why sometimes small market teams, some people say have the best crowds is because these are guys you're seeing grow. So there's that natural connection to them. And so I think the thing with Atlanta, since we are kind of a big city, we want to feel like we're a big city, and we want to feel like we have the stars. So there is some resistance to, we're willing to wait and watch young players grow and flourish here because we feel like we should be able to get it. It's Atlanta. So many stars love coming here anyway. Homes here, visit here. So why is it hard to actually get them to play here?
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hawks fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. T-Will, now you got another question for Mr. Brice.
I do.
Real quick before you
Miss Karen.
T-Will, before you say the question, can I just say that the comments are passing the vibe check? Everybody's like, screw Boston sports except Berto. I love it. I'm seeing all the comments and I'm just loving it.
So I think it goes back to
agree.
that Super Bowl moment too, Carrie, when they showed, Boston, how many championships they have versus Atlanta on the screen. And it had like 33 or 34 for Boston and had like 1 for Atlanta at that time. So fans remember that moment. It was like, we really hate them. And then, of course, the Patriots and, right now, New England's losing to Atlanta. I mean, New England's beating Atlanta United right now 2-0. So you talk about hating them. They're beating our soccer team right now too, right? As we're doing this podcast.
DH.
And hopefully there's no Boston people in the chat really, but
there's a Celtic fan in the chat.
Celtic
fan. But Berto's
Mm-hmm.
cool, but besides that, like, I don't know, a lot of Boston sports fans are just obnoxious for me.
Berto's celebrating the championship parade with the Celtics. That's tough,
Berto,
man.
that's not cool. I did not know Berto
cool,
was
Berto.
a Celtics fan. He loses some points.
That's
already.
crazy.
You know what's funny, Bryce? We got Berto on Friday morning for breakfast for one time for the fans. So it's going to be Hawks Celtics talk going on Friday morning on One Time for the Fan, 9 a.m. So definitely make sure you guys are here for that. Big shout out to Berto, 95 North. What he does with the Atlanta Falcons when it comes to talking about the Falcons or the draft or the rookies, they do a great job. Berto, Smitty, A1, Bryce, yourself too as well. When it comes to the Hawks, Bryce, before we get to your question, T. Will, how do you cover the Hawks? I mean, are you going to the games in Vegas, or are you gonna be doing live streams, or how do you cover the Hawks when you have your podcast?
So because I have moved to South Carolina and I am closer to the city now, I am planning to get credentialed this season. I'm planning to make that move, get credentialed to stuff. So obviously first big event probably I'll try to get to is Media Day, which is obviously, it's almost like first day of school. Hey, meet everybody. So get to Media Day, and then obviously I can't go to like a bunch of games, but obviously I think I got to figure out how they credential because some are different. Because I remember somebody from my Lakers friends that cover the team says, like, you do Laker coverage, like you got to be at 85%. You got to go to practices, like you have to, or else they're going to revoke your credential. I don't think Atlanta's like that. So I'll try to go to the games that I can. But obviously I want to try to be there for maybe a couple practices throughout the year. Obviously Media Day. Obviously hope to be there, even if the Hawks have a draft pick right now. So maybe be there for like draft coverage. So I have some plans this year to kind of help out, do some extra stuff on the road, kind of be in Atlanta more this year for those things. Same thing with Falcons as well. So we'll see how that ends up going, and then I'll just kind of help add to the coverage. If not, I mean, this past year I kind of was just watch the game, you recap the game, maybe a couple of games, recap it, see what happens, and just kind of just give your analysis on the game. Because basketball is different covering than football. Football, you have a game, and then especially if they play Sunday to Sunday, okay, we can preview the game, and then we can talk about the game that just passed. And basketball, it's like they play Monday, they play Wednesday. If you don't do it within like 12, 24 hours, well, we're already on to the next game. So it's like, all right, we got to go ahead and advance forward. So it just depends on how you want to cover it.
So we do a lot here when it comes to One Time for the Fan covering the Falcons, but for anybody who covers the Braves or the Hawks too as well, that's a lot to take care of like during your day. So big shout out to the Dixon Way too as well, because I know the Dixon Way spends a lot of time covering the Braves too as well, covers all sports. I think he was covering a NASCAR the other day.
Live streams it, right?
Everything.
Oh,
the Dixon
really?
Way is on point when it comes to streaming. So big shout out to Dixon Way. He's been on the channel here too as well. Got to reach out to him. Hopefully he can get back over here because he streams all the time. So big shout out to the Dixon Way. But Terry, we still got Brice here for a couple minutes. We ain't reached that hour mark yet. So come on, Terry. 10 more questions now. Let's keep them here. We're trying to break Scott Karisick's record of 3 hours.
I don't want to do that to Brice. So Brice, what is, for those of us who are not in the industry, the difference between producing a show, hosting a show as an analyst, or directing it, and which do you love more?
I mean, from a producing standpoint, I mean, primarily, obviously, I produce my own pods, but obviously, I produce news as well. I mean, it's more of just you're the brainchild for what you want the show to look like. Obviously, you're more in that creative role. I'm assuming you guys have watched a news show before, so you know how the order of stories, how it's presented, how they want to have multiple boxes or multiple people on screen, or if they want to have certain graphics. Like all of those things are controlled. Every media group has their own graphics package and things of that nature. And then obviously when you're an analyst, analyst is my favorite thing out of it, just because it puts me in a position where obviously it's just about a do you know ball. If you say, hey, come on, break down this game, this is just knowing ball. This is just watching the game, breaking it down, and having an opinion. So I feel like it's a more natural, free-flowing thing that you can kind of just talk about, and I think that's what we're going to in terms of sports content nowadays, is a more free-flowing platform where we watch it, we give our analysis, we give our thoughts, we try to interpret what we think is going on with what we're seeing on the screen, and then, you give your opinion. So, and then if you're directing a show, I don't have as much experience with that, but I can tell from what I see, that obviously can be it's a team effort. Everybody has to be on the same page. If you got to be able to give that direction so the director can direct it correctly, so that way it can go off the way you envisioned it. It's almost like you can produce and you put all the elements needed, and then the director plays all the elements needed in the timely manner or the order that you want it in, so that way it can come off the way you want it to come off. So, just for me, being a fan of the game, it's just something that obviously from an analyst perspective, it allows me to just kind of get more into that bag of just giving out that knowledge that I have. Not saying that I'm right, because I'm not all the time, but I also just love the conversations and the discussions that you can have bouncing off of that. So I think overall, that's kind of my favorite thing. Obviously, I've dabbled in some social media as well, and some other things. So I'm cool with writing, but I'm also like ADHD. So that's not always the easiest thing for me to do, to actually sit down and do that. So, I think that overall, they all have their own unique elements, and everybody can learn a particular thing from each side of it. Cause people may think, okay, being an analyst is easy, but I've been on TV before. It's different, even talking here, different when you have you're standing full body screen and you're on a TV screen at somebody's home. It feels different. You're kind of nervous at first. Every move you make, they can see it. Am I awkward? Is my hand in the awkward place? We're here is it's more full okay, we just conversating. Right. We're basically a bunch of talking heads. We're just hey, so what we gonna talk about? What I'm saying? What we gonna do? So it's a little different, but it helps because it's reps. So
this is great.
Those reps are still impactful and things of that nature.
T-Will.
All right, last question. Well, not last, second to last.
No, it's 10 more. 10 more.
So I went to LinkedIn and I checked you out, and very impressive, by the way. But I did notice that you were a writer, and I wanted to ask you, because you've been in the game a while. What is the difference between the writers of 8 years ago and writing today? In your mind's eye, what's the difference?
I think today there is such a concentration on getting out content
Yes,
that I
and
think that has,
and being first, right?
yeah, and I think that has reduced sometimes the quality of content that is put out.
Mhm.
I know some people who work within some places, and they're just like, we always talk about certain places like a Bleacher Report, where we'll sometimes be like, what are these articles? But y'all don't realize, like, Bleacher Report saying, hey, we need an article on this by this time.
Mhm.
And you're just like, I mean, there's not a lot to it. I don't know what you want me to say, but it's like they got to do it because it's their job. So then they just got to put something out. That's why, because realistically, like, who wants to put out 3 trade proposals? Really, like, realistically, who's sitting there like, let me write an article on 3 trade proposals? Because
That may happen.
first, it's like very controversial because you don't know if people are gonna like your trade proposals or not. But
Mhm.
secondly, it's like, that's not really what you're thinking about. You have players you would like to get, but again, I always say when we talk about trades, we're always thinking about how can I fleece the other team? That's what we always think about. How can I make this work where we can get a benefit and advantage? So I think that's the big difference. Is like, I think just so many companies now just want content. Like,
Yeah.
I'll look at jobs when I was looking for jobs, they'll be like, we need 3-4 articles a day. And I'm like, a day? Like,
Mhm.
like, what do we talk? Like, if I'm covering a team, like, what am I? I'm just talking about nothing. I feel like at that point.
Right.
Oh, the running backs went to the dinner together, talking about the bonding of the running backs. I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they do this plenty of times. I'm sure they at the crib. I'm like, I don't know, but that's what's sometimes
Somebody's doing something like that right now, trying to
They
prepare for
ordered
4
lobster.
articles for their boss in the morning. Yeah.
They ordered lobster, and it was great.
Yeah, exactly. He said, that lobster is a representation of our unit. It's just stuff like that. And I'm just like, there's just so much just put stuff out there to the public.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it makes more sense if you said 3 to 4 articles a week more than 3 to 4 a day.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing. Everybody, especially nowadays, even being in the news industry, everything's about content, just getting content out. And so the quality of everything starts to drop because of that. Because we just do stuff to do stuff. We're not doing stuff with meaning. And
Right.
I think that's sometimes where the issue is, or somebody wants to put out a negative story to get views, because negativity in today's society gets views, it gets attention.
They love the lie more than the truth, apparently. Yes.
Obviously working for news, we get complaints. There's so much negative stuff on your website. And I'm like, well, that's what gets views for the website.
Yeah.
I can't put that little Jimmy made a lemonade stand and that's gonna get me views. All right, I gotta put somebody
I would
dying.
view it. Yeah.
Oh man, the disrespect to little Jimmy here on the stream.
I mean,
The heart emoji on Gary's camera right now.
Touchdown! No more penalties for me.
The podcast, like, so my lemonade stand won't make the
Oh,
news.
Gary.
That's
Sorry, little
funny.
Jimmy.
Quick mention in there. You get a quick mention, So we try to give love to everybody if we can, but yeah, it's
No, but it would need to depend on if it's homemade lemonade or he's just like has the powder, because that makes a difference.
I mean,
Yeah, because let's just say the
easy
lemonade.
lie, be like, yeah, I made this myself, and then the whole time I'm seeing some Simply Lemonade in the background. So I mean,
Yeah, I want the fresh lemonade. Okay.
You gotta
I
say
said,
the
we'll
story
get that when we
somehow.
get
So
another
you got little
supply.
Jimmy Stan. He's making a lot of money, but what are you making this lemonade, little Jimmy? What's going on back there? Got the box of Minute Maid or High C back there. You never know.
Exactly.
Oh.
So I mean, that's kind of the big thing I would say in terms of writing. It's just
Okay.
that's why when I was writing for Fan Nation SI Hawks for a little bit, when Pat Benson was still there, it was nice because it was like I wasn't on no schedule. Like, you got to get this amount of articles out. Obviously I work, I do this. So obviously, again, ADHD, it's like, okay, when do I actually have time to sit there and be like, all right, let me write an article about something? I just kind of have to feel the energy and the spirit to write something, which more likely provide a better article from me, because now I have like a motivation and what I want to do in that regard. And so I think that's why, articles are different, but if you do it, like, shout out to my guy, Daniel Flick, the way he does it, that works perfectly. He puts out great content. He puts out, all he really, every interview he does, he's like, I got this sound with this many people, this many coaches. So now I can do this many articles and have each specific topic that I want to talk about, each specific player I want to chronicle or feature. And that helps. And that's why you're able to put out good content. Not everybody does that. Some people are just going to be like, let me just put out something because this is my opinion. I'll act like this is a fact or I heard something. Because, everybody got sources nowadays. Trust me, bro. So,
No,
Big shout out to Daniel Flick too as well, man. He's going to be on the channel here next week. Terry?
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree 100% with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, specifically in baseball and or football, I follow the Hawks, but my knowledge of trades in basketball are just complicated to me. So I need somebody to kind of translate how to do it. Football, baseball, I pretty much have. But what you notice, and Bleacher Report does a good job of this, but in a lot of other publications, not so much. And it really is like you say, Brice. You know what? We need 5 articles on trades because they will write articles on guys the Braves aren't going to trade for, right? So with the Atlanta Braves specifically, they care about their locker room. You can hit 50 home runs, but if you're an asshole, you're not going to get in that locker room because ultimately they feel like team chemistry is important. They value that over anything else. So there are a couple of guys now out there that have bad reputations, and you see the articles over and over again. And if you know the Braves and you know Anthopoulos and how he runs it, there's no way that's going to happen. That's a wasted article. But because the demand is there, because it's about, well, let's just put an article out there, you'll see a lot of that, right? So it's really about the publications and the people that you get these articles from. It's about your sources because there's certain people. It's like you tell me all the time, Jack. There are 4 or 5 guys that we look at every morning on Twitter that, Jack will say, okay, this guy's solid. And
I mentioned to Kerry too when we had a couple of reports we did back in the offseason, like, let's not speak about that until we get a verified source on that, because I don't even know who this joker is, who's reporting this. But even the Arthur Blank situation with the Belichick on the boat, who was like, well, who's reporting this?
Right.
Like, who is this? Is this a journalist or just a person just taking a picture? But we got to wait to get the facts. We have to wait to make sure we get a reliable source before even we talk about it here on the channel. But yeah, Terry.
No, I mean you're absolutely right. It just in my opinion, and it's look, I love Bleacher Report. Okay, I got Bleacher. I don't know if you guys know this, but I got a whole lot of devices here. So my wife says no. My wife says like I'm obsessed. She says like I would either be a tech guy, which I am, or a serial killer. You said
I'm glad you're a tech guy.
Gosh,
I think I would suck as because I have OCD, right? So if I kill somebody, I'd go back to the crime scene 3 times. Did I get it up? Like I would like whenever I leave my house.
Did we catch Kerry slickly saying like, "I'm glad you're a tech guy"?
No,
Kerry, that was a good one. That was a good one, Kerry.
I check Bleacher Report probably 10 times a day, right? Because for the most part, it's accurate. It is accurate. It's all right, Berto. It's okay. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. But where I'm going with this, Brice, do you feel that the speed of information, the inaccuracy at some point, do you think that's going to catch up to us one day? And something's going to really be reported inaccurately, and it's going to force us to look at ourselves, because I can see that coming, in my humble opinion, but I'm not in it like you are. What are your thoughts on that? Because there's such an emphasis to be first. I see all the time reports of so-and-so got traded, and they're dead wrong, right? What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's going to get worse, or do you think there will be a collective moment where people just say, you know what, enough of this, let's make sure we get it right? What are your thoughts on that?
It's honestly hard to tell, because honestly, a lot of it is up to the companies, and their vision and their philosophies.
Yeah, some people allow that.
A lot of places want just the quickness, because everybody. What I think one thing I was told when I was in the business, and I don't know if I remember this correctly, it's better. I think basically it was like they're saying it's better to ask for forgiveness
than permission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's how a lot of people in the industry view it. It's just like, I'd rather put something out, and even if we get partially some of it correct, we can always go back and say, oh, we got new information, so this wasn't actually correct. This is actually what happened, and da 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 da.
Update.
But exactly. Everybody's like, we can update new
Or they
details.
edit the comment, they edit something. Yeah.
You know, and so they're looking at that as like, we can correct it. And people are like, oh, okay, I get it. Because because here's the thing, working in news, sometimes sheriff offices will send us a name and the name is wrong, but you're believing this. You're not going to assume the sheriff office is going to send you a wrong name. So you're going to put it out there, then they send you the right name, and they're like, oh, this is wrong. So like, it happens. It's something that happens. It's human error. We all do it. We all have it. But I think in terms of, especially within sports, it's one of those things where it just depends on the companies. Because I think everybody wants to, like I said, just be first.
Yeah.
I think everybody wants to have that. And it's one of those things where you'll see people online give out wrong information, and then you'll have someone dispute it of a higher level, or a player say is wrong, and that person will still say, this is what my source said, I'm sticking to it, instead of being like, oh, maybe this could be wrong, and I need to be able to own up to that, but they don't want to. And I think people just also, like I said, especially when they're in the age now of engagement, making money off the content, making money. Obviously, if you have like Twitter, Twitter Blue, you can make money off engagements, things like that. You're just like, I just want people to look at it. I just want people, because at the end of the day, even if I'm wrong, you're looking at it. You may like it. You may, you're helping it get to a bigger audience, and that's what people want, is to be able to get to a bigger audience. And then they'll, because they feel like at the end of the day, there's gonna be suckers out there who don't believe them, and then, oh no, I like his stuff, and because there's just so many different types of people who will be caught up into that. And so I think that's one of the big things that they kind of look into when it comes to the journalism part of this game. And it sucks for the people who actually try to get it right, because now they have to battle with people, being wrong and being like, okay, what do I do so people don't think I'm in that group and I'm in that category? That's why sometimes you have people, I've been seeing this a lot recently. The most connected guy for a lot of people in the Hawks community is Brad Rowling. And I've seen people, even on my tweet, and be like, I don't believe it unless Brad says it. And they'll tag him on the tweet and say, Brad, is this true? Because that's a guy that they trust, and say, if he's not saying this is true and he's someone who's connected, then I'm not just assume that, especially if it's someone new, you're going to believe him. And that's why I say sources for me, and doing that stuff is tough, because I'm like, listen, if I tweet something out and I'm like, hey, this is what a source said, listen, this is the first time I've ever done it. So I already don't have people's trust. So if I get this wrong, I'm just like, well, might as well retire from the source, because it's like, because it really is like kind of a fine line. It's almost like you really have to be sure.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think businesses are just, they'll take their chances with it, but especially on a lot of these newer created sports sites, they're just kind of like, at the end of the day, if we can get views, we can get people to tune into the website. That's ultimately what we want, because that's where our money comes from. And we can worry about the accuracy
later.
Yeah. Kerry and Terry, everybody here on the panel, agree or disagree? That's what kind of happened with the Lamar Jackson situation. I didn't see too many of the Falcons journalists and community talk about it. It was everybody outside of Atlanta talking about it. And even me, I was trying to reach out to people saying, is this true? And they're like, I'm not hearing nothing about this. So I don't know what to say. But then you hear, Kerry, you saw it. The young lady who was on the show with the Fox Sports, she was going off about it. Oh, they need to go ahead and sign them.
I was just going to say, they're still talking about it. But
they're still talking about it to this day. So it does go off.
Yes, I still hear about it.
Yeah. So for Falcon fans in the chat, Brice, you're right.
Ever since we signed Kirk, though. Oh, sorry.
I mean, what do you think?
I was going to say that ever since we signed Kirk, it's been... Yeah, no, I was going to say ever since we signed Kirk, though, it's been kind of quiet. So hopefully we don't put it back out there for people to bring that up. But yeah, even in the off season, I was still hearing, after the whole Ritter thing didn't work out, people were talking about it again, not Falcons reporters or anything, just outside sources. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like beating a dead horse. Like, why are they still bringing this up? Just, got so old.
Terry, you mentioned kill the narrative. How did that come about?
Well, I just felt like not the local media, but the national media, they kind of they kick certain teams when they're down. And the Falcons being one of them, right? And the move to go from Kirk and draft Penix was really, 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 really over scrutinized. And I felt like because it's just the offseason, they have nothing else to talk about.
They're waiting for that moment that Michael Penix takes over. They are waiting for that. They're calling it like how they tried to do the Lamar Jackson situation.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? I think it was smart. Because again, if Kirk works out, great, fine. If Kirk gives us 2 Super Bowls, nobody's talking about it. But what if he gets hurt? Right? So let's rewind the clock. Let's say we had taken Dallas Turner and everybody else we took, and you got a wonderful defense and a wonderful offense, but Kirk is hurt, and now you're going to Heineke.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this movie before, right?
It doesn't work.
You can't take that chance. We are heavily invested in offense. We are heavily invested in defense. We are going for it this year. You have to have competent quarterback play. And again, no disrespect to Heineke, because in all fairness, the Heineke that we saw in Atlanta last year was not the Heineke that we saw in Washington.
Yeah.
What?
20,
Now, maybe
2021-ish? Yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but maybe this regime will get more out.
He had a great year.
And he beat us twice, Kerry.
You said what?
He beat us twice. I was talking to
Kerry.
Kerry was over there.
Yeah.
He beat us twice.
Yeah, I was trying to remember what season that was that he killed it. Yeah, and that's when we signed him out. That's kind of what I was hoping for, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, he did, and it's funny. I had an argument with my brother Eric Parker because Ritter wasn't. Look, I'm not gonna. You guys know what Ritter was, but we would have arguments every Sunday, and I'm like, Heineke, and Eric was like, he's not that guy. You're gonna see, and I'm like, Eric, whatever, because we argue about everything. He's my brother. We argue. It's what
Eric
we do.
believes in this team 100%, but when he starts calling out players, he knows that something's wrong.
I was like, no, Eric, you're wrong. I've never had more crow.
Big shout out Eric Parker.
Last year, yeah, Eric Parker, LBB, little big brother. But so anyway, they kept feeding the narrative that the Falcons don't know what they're doing. It's 28-3 all over again. And there's this narrative out there specifically relating to or germane to Atlanta teams that we fail when it counts.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Braves and the Dogs, we fail when it counts. We cannot deliver the big one. We cannot get over that hump. And they're beating that narrative like a dead horse. And I'm not saying that it was a perfect scenario to draft Penix, but there's never a perfect time to draft a franchise quarterback. Somebody's going to be upset, right? So I just think, for me, I think it was smart from the perspective of Kirk is coming off an Achilles injury. And while we have great modern technology, that has ended a lot of careers. Kirk looks good now, but you just don't know.
He's not 23 years old either.
Correct.
Yeah.
He's not 53 like
great points, Terry.
He's not 23, right? So it's good to have insurance, and that's all this is. And the thing about it that's great, and Raheem talked on this in his article. He said if Kirk was not the kind of guy that he was, and if Michael Penix was not the kind of guy that he was, this wouldn't work. So I take that to mean their care and their want to for football is bigger than their ego, right? Was talking with my boy Mark Chaney today, and he said, to be a professional athlete, you got to have a death of your ego. And I agree with that. It's got to be about the we more than the me. But anyway, whole thing in regards to the narrative, they've kind of calmed down now. But essentially, with Atlanta teams, anything negative that they can do, they're going to do that. If you notice on any national broadcast, ultimately they're going to bring up 28-3. At some point during that time, they're going to bring it up. Well, I hate to bring it up. No, you don't. But you bring it up. So my point is, Atlanta fans, let's not tune into that. We got a great team. Will we make it to the Super Bowl? Don't know, right? But this team is resoundingly better than it was last year. Resoundingly. I have full confidence we're going to win 11 games. full confidence we're going to win a playoff game at home. After
Falcons,
that, baseball game.
if they surprisingly go 2-2 or 2-3, you're gonna have that narrative right back. Like it's time to
Of
bench
course.
Kirk, it's time to put Penix in.
Yeah.
Raheem still doesn't know what he's
That-
doing. You
Of
hear
course.
that all the time.
That's the only thing that worries me about having that tough stretch right there in the beginning. Is I already know.
Pick us apart on
yeah,
this
we
on
go 1-3,
yeah.
2-2. Oh, it's gonna be rough. But
For
we're not.
fans
We're
that
gonna
know
go
if you're
2-2
calling
or 3-1. So
Kerry, you know if you're calling 10 wins though, that your team is gonna lose some games. If you're calling 11 wins, your team is gonna lose some games. You might
I'm
not
calling
wake up.
12 wins. So
Yeah. I think 12
I
wins too.
still think 12-5.
And the thing about it is, even if you do struggle in the beginning, the rest of your schedule is not cake, but it is definitely not as difficult as the first 4 or 5 games.
Mhm.
So
You got a lot of
even if
more
you
winnable
come out
games after
correct,
week 4.
correct. Even if you come out 2-3 or whatever, you can make that up on the back end, right?
Mhm.
It's equivalent to having 9 books. You don't have any aces, but you got 10 spades sitting up in your hand. You're gonna make your books. You might not win the first round, but once you start cutting, you go to trumps, it's all over, right? Same thing. You line up the difficult ones first 4 games, but look, this is a good team. And in my humble opinion, I don't know everything. Whole lot I don't know. I know this team is going to play well.
Mhm.
I know this team is due to play well because they are sick of hearing that 28-3 shit. They're sick of hearing that, oh, Falcons. They don't know what they're doing. Drake, I would say Drake and Kyle, above anybody else, are salivating to get on the field right now because they got a quarterback that's going to get them the ball.
Especially
Right?
Kyle Pitt.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. Because he needs to have a good year. He needs to have a good year for that contract that's coming up. He needs that.
Yeah.
He needs to kill the narrative that he's just an average tight end. So you got a lot of folks with a lot to prove in the right set of circumstances. I think they're going to be great.
But
And I don't buy
best thing about it. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you
I
got to
was
care.
gonna say, Terry, I was gonna say the best thing about that, about how you said that there's so many players that have so much to prove. I also feel that we're in the greatest position because they're gonna be led by a head coach that has so much to prove.
Absolutely.
You know, because like you said earlier in the show that he's failed before and he's been through so much. He's been like, just like an interim head coach. He's failed as a head coach. So I feel like, coming from LA, he's won the Super Bowl. He's learned a lot. I feel like he definitely wants to prove that, and he's even said it. Didn't he say it like in the beginning? Like he really wants to win the Super Bowl for Arthur Blank and the city. So I have so much faith in him, and I do feel that he will lead. I have faith that he'll lead this team like in the best way possible.
I totally agree with you. When
Mhm.
Raheem first got here in Atlanta, when they first started interviewing him, I was saying, you know what? The Falcons was to bring in Raheem Morris. They can't get that Atlanta vibe back again. Like you can see Terry, you see Raheem in the interview the other day. He had on no Falcon gear. He just had on that A hat.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like he talks about
love
Atlanta
it.
being his home. You know what I'm saying? He loved being here in Atlanta when he was with Dan Quinn during that time. And then, of course, reaching the Super Bowl and everything, it didn't work out. But even when he was ready to be a head coach again, when the Falcons came calling, he didn't hesitate, man. He wanted to be a head coach for the Atlanta Falcons. So big shout out to Raheem Morris. Big shout out to everybody.
Love it.
Of course, big shout out to Brice Lewis for taking the time out of his day to come talk Falcons with us.
Yeah.
You're lucky this isn't Sunday night, Brice, because House of the Dragons would have been on. We would have ended the podcast about 35 minutes. So,
Sure, I got
everybody
you.
here in the chat, you guys got a extra couple of minutes here tonight on One Time for the Fan. But Brice, please tell us again about your social media. Where can we find you? We're going to get you back here on the podcast. Everybody knows that. We don't never invite guests one time. We always bring them back on the podcast. So, Brice, please, man, tell us more about what you got going on coming up, because the Hawks are getting ready to have their summer league. Training camp for the Falcons is about to start. It's going crazy in different ways, man. But tell me, please, what you got coming up?
Yes, sir. Obviously we're still putting out content throughout the summer. Like I said, if you haven't checked out my latest Bleeding Hawks episode, got that out 2 days ago, talking to 2 New Orleans Pelicans podcasters about the trade between the Hawks and Pelicans. Good conversation there.
Yes.
Also, Got some Falcons stuff in the work, hoping to try to get like a training camp preview video out sometime this month. And I'm trying to link up with this guy from Minnesota Vikings, talk more about Kirk Cousins and Def. And then if things work out, I'm also planning to hopefully be at Falcons training camp as well later in the month. So trying to get some stuff going over there. My couple of social media, Brice_2K, BRICEY_2K, across all social media, YouTube as well. Go ahead, subscribe. About 70 away from 1,000 subscribers, so we're trying to crack the 1,000 threshold, and everything on this fun. So I appreciate you guys. Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys letting me come on, share this platform with you guys, and have some good conversation tonight about all topics: Hawks, Falcons, the industry, everything. Man, this is really great stuff, man. Really great stuff. Work that y'all been doing out there, and I'm like I said, glad to be part of it for a day.
Hey, this is great, man, because not only with, how you talked to Terry today. New England's about to score again. Not only that you talked to Terry today about the Hawks, and you talk Falcons here tonight, but there's going to be other pop-up shows that, hell, Berto might go live tomorrow. Next, everybody's on there talking Falcons or talking Hawks or talking basketball. So this is what it is when it comes to the Falcons content community. Everybody just loves the off season right now because you get a chance to produce content, to put it out there for all fans. And I know people's excited once you go live or you share some pre-recorded videos, or you might have some shorts. So for every fan here in the chat, like it's damn near like a job here when you talk, when you have a podcast, right? Because everybody expects you to put videos out all the time, or can you tweet? Can you do a live stream or anything? And that's why we love talking with everybody here at One Time for the Fan. Brice, any shout outs that you have tonight?
I mean, shout out everybody, man. Shout out Berto, shout out the entire panel, shout out every Falcons Hawks content creator, A1, Smitty, Mark, everybody, man. Shout out to everybody in the community, man, helping us grow as just a huge team community, and also just social. Obviously, great conversations happen on social, from arguments to funny spaces to just all types of different things, man. And obviously, I know once we get into season, especially Falcons, we all have been on there during Falcon Sunday on games and how hectic that can go. So that should be an exciting time as well. So just shout out to everybody, man.
Big shout out to Brice Lewis. Brice, I got to ask you, when it comes to Falcons games this year, what games are you looking at to attend? Home and away.
It'll probably be hard for me to really attend any, really, to be honest with you, with my schedule. I mean, if I did, it probably would be maybe a primetime game, maybe the Monday night game, because I'm off that day. I know they said it's a little bit harder to get credentials to that stuff because it's primetime too. So obviously, like ESPN and them are going to be there. So we'll see about those. Maybe Panthers game, because technically I'm an hour and a half from Charlotte. So that's something I could potentially do as well. I just have to kind of see how everything works out. So hopefully, I know that I think there's a group trying to get together to y'all get ready to go to Vegas.
So we have the Rise Up Tour fan clubs group. Me and my friend started about 7 years ago, and pretty much we put on events and we put on parties for all Falcon fans that go on the road to travel for Falcon away games. But you mentioned Carolina, and we have a tailgate in Carolina too that morning. The game's at 4:25, but we have a bus trip that heads up that Sunday morning. And then they'll meet us up for the tailgate somewhere nearby the stadium. So I definitely give you the information, man, if you want to come out. You said an hour and a half away. Man, let's go watch the Falcons whoop the Panthers, Brice. You're right there. Hopefully there's no rain, though. Hopefully no rain.
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, if I can, man, I'll definitely try to make it out there for show, man.
T-Will will be this year. I'm really trying to first away game. T-Will's first away game.
Really?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Look at that. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Brice, I got one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm petty when it comes to rivalry. I'm petty Eddie. I'm so petty. So which would
How petty? No.
Petty Eddie. That's me. Which would hurt your heart more? Okay. Your beloved Falcons losing to the hated Saints, or your beloved West Georgia Wolves losing to those Valdosta State Blazers? Which piss you off more?
Definitely Falcons over States. Listen, Falcons lose the States, that's different. West Georgia. Listen, I want success for them. But glad they're FCS now, D1 program, everything under the sun. But listen, I was never that invested in the Valdosta stuff and so
what year was at West Georgia?
Huh?
What year you was at West Georgia? What year?
I was there. I transferred there, so I was there from 2017 to 2019.
Okay, cool.
So I was there. Yeah, I was there. We had a couple people. You know what I'm saying? Good. Good. Like I said, that they've moved up in the ranks. Obviously, maybe seeing the FCS tournament soon. So then it's like, oh, there you go. Guess they're doing big time. Everybody trying to become a D1 school nowadays. So eventually, maybe get into NCAA football game. So then I got to rebuild them and take them to new heights.
Any players in West Georgia got some NIL deals too as well? NIL floating around that?
I have absolutely. I guess they might. I mean, it's Carrollton. I guess NIL. I guess NIL, like maybe some local college stuff. I mean, I don't know. Well, it's Carrollton. Maybe they want us to sponsor some Zins or something. I don't know.
A car show at the racetrack right off the exit, maybe.
That's definitely Georgia State racetrack, especially since Shell's not. They had to replace some of them shells in Atlanta. Definitely racetrack. Got to be posted up. Hellcats and Demons. We got to get sponsorships out here. We got to break people to Georgia State and make Georgia State great again. All right. So go Thurs. Even though I'm not a Georgia State fan, I just like saying go Thurs. But yeah.
Falcon fans in the chat, hit the like, share, subscribe button for Brice. Hawks fans in the chat, hit the like, share, and subscribe button for Brice. Terry, before we get Brice up out of here, anything y'all want to say to him before we get about?
Hey, man, love your show. Got a chance to see you up close and personal and witness your show. Good luck, man. He's probably on the same track as us, Jack. You got 938 subs, right? I think I counted that. I wanted to.
If it's changed since we've been on live, then potentially. Last time I checked, it was like 930. But I mean, I might have gained 8 subscribers.
938. I thought I saw 9 this morning. So hey, man, doing it big. Congratulations. Sky's the limit, and good luck to you, brother. And really enjoy being in this time and space with you. Really did.
Yeah, same. Definitely for you guys as well.
Yep.
Miss Carrie.
I just want to say thank you so much, Brice, for coming on the show. It's a pleasure having you on, and I'm so happy to be back on as well. T-Will and Jack. It's been.
We're happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I'm happy to be back, and I just want to shout out everybody in the chat, especially the people that were talking crap about Boston sports.
Yes,
so, shout out to you guys.
Yes.
Shout out to you guys. You guys are real ones, and I also want to say have a safe 4th of July, everyone. Enjoy your day off. Hopefully you're off tomorrow.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. It's been great tonight talking Falcons football with everybody. Shout out to Brice. Shout out to Carrie. Shout out to Bodie. Shout out to Chase. Shout out to T-Will for my ATL Sportsman. We got so much going on here in the next couple of weeks. Like, it's going to be great. So I can't wait until Falcons training camp gets underway. We'll be there July 27th. Falcons put the information out today, so it'll be 6 p.m. For that practice. And, of course, they have another 6 p.m. practice the following week at the Mercedes-Benz. So one time for the fan. We'll definitely be there to watch the Falcons practice and talk Falcons with everybody. So if you see us, come up to us, take some pictures. We'll probably go live a few times. But it's going to be a great day for not only content creators, but just diehard Falcon fans to see the team that they believe can win the division, the team that they believe can get to the playoffs, the team that they believe can get back to the NFC Championship game. And like Kirk said, you got to be good enough to beat the 49ers. Yep. Right? Because if they do make it down to the playoffs, most teams and most fans in the NFL will say, well, the 49ers have been there before. They might get there again. The Falcons have to be that team this year, right? So for everybody that's excited about the upcoming season, every single week you will see more and more and more of One Time for the Fan when the season gets underway. But we have a Friday morning podcast with Berto, 95 North talk show, man. He does a great job talking Falcons. Berto Damas.
Berto Damas. That's what
Berto Damas. Hopefully he doesn't join the podcast wearing the Celtic green. We're going to ask him to wear the Falcon colors on Friday, Berto. So
Celtics are D8, Berto. They're D8.
Don't come in here with no Celtics hat or no Jason Tatum jersey or no Jaylen Brown jersey because we're going to get you banned from YouTube if that happens.
Right.
Berto. So we don't do that over here on this channel. But no, big shout out to my boy Berto, man. Big shout out to Country. Big shout out to everybody who's been supporting all the content creators. But T. Will,
Yes, sir.
Carrie, and
Good
Brice.
night, everyone.
I thank y'all. Rise up.
Thank you, God, for the show.